Shalom, everybody. This is Rob Van Hoff from Heart of Messiah and Torah Resource Institute. I've got another ancient manuscripts to share today for this week's Torah portion, which is Parashat Acharie Mot and Qedoshim. Acharie Mot is the beginning of Leviticus 16. It's after the death, Acharie Mot. After the death of, it talks about the oldest two sons of Aaron, how they died in bringing strange fire before the Lord, which of course opens up the discussion of Yom Kippur. But this Torah portion extends beyond that into what's called Qedoshim. So it's a pretty large Torah portion, 144 verses. Leviticus 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So 5 whole chapters. And the fragment I have on the screen here is from Leviticus 19. It's a famous chapter because, of course, that's the chapter that has the greatest commandment. Well, the second one, which is like the greatest commandment, is to love your neighbor as yourself. And I have a cool background I want to share. Since we've been looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls, I thought it'd be fun to have a backdrop to show you here. And this is a picture I took from the snake trail at Masada. It's coming up, so that's the Dead Sea. That's looking east into Jordan, or those are the hills of Moab, ancient Moab, looking in an east direction before the sun comes up from the snake. Actually, that might be already at the top of Masada by then in the Dead Sea area. Just north of here, of Masada, of course, is the site of Qumran. And that's where the fragment that I have on the screen is found. And so what I want to do is bring some things to our attention here from this fragment. Now this fragment is called 1Q3. So it was found in the Cave 1. So that's that first number there is the cave number. And if you go to Wikipedia or online, you can find maps that show you where each of the caves are. In any event, Cave 1 was one of the initial treasure troves that was found. And Q, of course, means Qumran. And then 3 is the third, it's just tagged document number 3. Now, this is the image from the deadseascrolls.org.il website. But notice this is a photograph taken in the 50s, and it's a really good photograph. I mean, you can zoom way in. It's black and white, of course, but there's a problem here. I'm going to turn to a green marker, is that it was set up wrong. This whole chunk needs to move that way. And so what I did is try to cut and paste in my limited photo editing style to try to adjust that. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see both the photograph, and then what I've tried to do is move this section up and to the left. And in so doing, I'm able to get these lines in order. And so that's why we're looking at the strange, weird framed picture below. It's because I've taken this official photograph and I've tried to do it's kind of sloppy, but it does the job, to realign the text. And then this will make sense for us. And what we're looking at here, let me go back to a black ink here. This is a section from Leviticus, as I said, 19. And we're looking at sections of the verses 31 through 34. And I'm just going to take a little bit of time and go to each of these points. The first I want to look at is up here. And we'll talk through it here. So I'm going to zoom in there. And it's really fun. What we see is a dalet, and I'm just going to trace above the letters. So that's a dalet, an ayin, Remember, the ayin is kind of like a triangle. And then some letter, and I know what it is, but we'll just copy what we see for sure. A noon, make it a little better. A yod, and then now my photograph or my snippet cut it off, but it's a mem. It's clearly a mem like that. Now my spacing isn't as nice as it could be, but this is all one word. It turns out that this here is a vav of some sort. Now how the vav looks, I don't know. I could find another vav somewhere on the page maybe and copy it, but we'll just call it that, sloppy vav for now. And then what we have here is in fact a yod, and you can kind of see it if we zoom in, but there is definitely a yod there, and it looks something like that. And so what this word is yod, dalet, ayin, vav, nun, yod, mem. This is the word Yedonim. Yedonim. So it looks like there was also a hey at the beginning of this, which is I didn't draw on here, but it's most likely there. It looks like it's there, and it's there in the Masoretic text. Ha Yedonim. Ha. We have a dagesh. I'm just going to what the Masoretes would do there. Hayid onim, like this. And this is that word for spiritists. It's the full Hebrew before that is al tifnu el. Do not turn towards. Al tifnu el. And tifnu, that's a verb from paneh, from face. And so it's like turn, it would be to face. Do not look to. Al tifnu el ha'ovot, to mediums, the el hayidonim, and to the spiritists or the necromancers or something like that. So that's this word, and we know that is that's verse 31. Now, we're confirmed because we look at some other verses here, or other sections here. Here's a nice clear word, and I'm going to zoom in. We have an aleph. We have a lamed, a nice lamed here. We have a hey. We have a yod. We have a kaf. And then we have a mem. Well, what word is this? This is Elohechem. Aleph, lamed, hey, yod, kaf, and then a mem sofit. Elohechem. Now this is the last word of that same verse, the last word of verse 31. Because it says, do not turn to mediums or spiritists. This is the NASB. Do not seek them out and be defiled by them. I am Adonai Elohechem. I am the Lord your God. So this is the end here. And then notice there's a space. That's it. The end of that verse is separated from the beginning of the next verse by that nice space. And then the beginning here is mipnei, which is where it says, you shall rise up before the gray-headed and honor the aged. That's what begins right here. And then we have the end of verse 32 is, oops, I just clicked the button, didn't mean to do that, is right here. This is the end of verse 32. And this is cool for another reason, because we have the nice text here. I might try a green marker. So again, we have mem. I'm just doing a rough copy. There's our mem. Remember, no Sophite letters in the Paleo. So 1Q3, again, the name sounds like 1, 2, 3. It's 1Q for K1, 3 of Qumran is probably 2nd century or 1st century BC. Hi, Terry. Yes, Elohim, that's exactly right. I just saw your post there. And we're going to see another one here. There's a Hey, a Yod, and then a Kaf. And then we see a little dot here. Or it's over here, rather. And then we have an Aleph, a Nun, and then a Yod. And then we have another little word divider. Then we have the tetragrammaton. Oops. Yod, Hey, and then we see a little bit of the Vav here. And then we know that there would be another Hey right here, because that's, we can check the Masoretic text. And so in Masoretic, later Aramaic Hebrew, we would write it this way. We would write Mem, Aleph, Lamed, Hey, Yod, Kaf Sofit. Then we have, of course, the Masoretes would not put a word divider, so I guess I don't need to put one there. Then it's Ani, Aleph, Nun, Yod, and then we have our tetragrammaton, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. So again, this is the end of verse 32, where it says, Ve yareta me Elohecha, Ani Adonai. You shall revere your God. I am Yod He Vav He. And the mem, you might say, well, what's this mem doing here? It's part of the verbal phrase to fear. It's fear from. Fear me. So the mem is a preposition. It's not part of the word. It's a preposition. You will have fear of Elohecha, Ani Adonai. And then, so I'm just going to do I'm going to do an erase of that. And I'm just going to zoom in on this last little bit here, because this is the beginning of verse 34 right here. And this, we'll copy it out. We have a Kaf, an Aleph, and then we have a Zion, which is rare to have. It's kind of hard to see, but the Zion is a more rare letter, so we don't see it as often, and it's hard to see. Sometimes they put a double line like that. Then we have a row, or a resh, and then we have a chet, which is also rarer. Then we have a word divider, and then a mem, and then a kaf, and then another mem. And then there'd be another word divider. So that's all we have here, but let's write it in Aramaic block script. It's kaf, Aleph, Zion, Resh, Chet, and then a space, Mem, Kaf, and then we will use a Mem Sofit letter. Hi, Casey. Shalom. Welcome. And this is, like I said, the beginning of verse 34. Verse 34. And the way the Masoretes, they put ke, because this is as. And I don't know if any of you remember the word Ezrach. And Ezrach is a native. That's the word for native. Mikem. As the native among you. That's the beginning of Leviticus 19:34. Ke Ezrach mikem yehe lachem hager itchem v'ahavta lo chamocha. You will love the ger as yourself. So this is a wonderful verse paralleling the greatest commandment, or love your neighbor as yourself, which is earlier in the same verse. Here we have Ke'ezrak Mekem. And again, so we're clear by looking at all this. It's funny, I used black marker and then neon green, but that'll be okay. This is from Leviticus 19, 31 through 34. Boy, wouldn't it be nice to have a nice full copy of the Torah, for example, from this time period, from the 2,100 years ago or more, that was clean and freshly written and that was accurate. Again, there's no vowel points or anything like that. We did one thing I didn't point out that I could have, and I'll just zoom in here back to that first word we looked at, that is in verse 31, Hayedonim, that is the spiritists or the necromancers. This text adds a vav, whereas the Masoretic text properly, which I didn't properly write, just has the holum. So the MT here has Hayid like this. And then there's a holum here. So here we have in Qumran, even in the 2nd century BC, where the O sound is being represented by a vowel. But it's there to help. It's not necessarily, it absolutely makes no difference in meaning, having that vav there or not. And so I just wanted to point that out. So there you have it. This is my attempt to cut and paste, because like I said, the original photograph from the 50s had this right-hand fragment, which is over here, down too low. The whole thing needed to shift up and to the left, and so that's why this looks kind of weird. I had to twist and cut and paste. Those who are real good with Photoshop could do that way easier than I could, but in any event, I tried to align that up to show that we have this little bit of a fragment from Leviticus 19. In the research I did, I could not find anywhere in all the Dead Sea Scrolls library where we have love your neighbor as yourself extant. We just have, like I've talked about before, it's sad that we don't have, it's sad that we don't have the whole Torah, of course, written Torah from Qumran. That would be nice. But there are key verses that it would be especially nice maybe to have that we don't have. But we do have enough, like this fragment here is enough to identify this as Leviticus 19. Now, was the original scroll an entire scroll of Leviticus? Was it an entire Torah? We don't know. Sadly, Cave 1, there was a lot of fragments like this. So, in any event, Ezrach, yeah, Terry, that's that word, Ezrach. And it means, that's our word, native. And that's a core issue of God's commandments for us, is to remember that whether we are grafted in or we are original stock, we are to remember the same lessons, that we don't prejudge an outsider, right? That it says you will remember that you were a slave. So God doesn't free us from sin so that we can then turn and oppress and condemn other people. Just like Yeshua teaches in one of the parables of the money keeper, and he gets called to account, and he begs for forgiveness, and he's forgiven a whole bunch, but then he goes and finds people that owe him, and he just a little bit, and he's brutal towards them, and of course his judgment does not come well, because he in the end becomes condemned. So good. I hope this was fun for everybody. I always enjoy doing this and leaving them up on Facebook so people can watch them. Our other videos, if you just go to Heart of Messiah, our Heart of Messiah page, and then you can click videos, you can go back, and if there's any that you're interested in that are available in the archive, you're welcome to watch those. And I'm always happy to answer questions. You can email me at robvanhoff@gmail.com, robvanhoff@gmail.com, and I'm happy to answer any questions pertaining to any of these videos that we've done. And for those interested, tomorrow for Shabbat, Lord willing, or sorry, not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, for Shabbat, Heart of Messiah plans to do another live stream of the Torah portion, and that will begin 10:30 here at our Heart of Messiah Facebook page, 10:30 Pacific time, again, Lord willing. And this week we'll be looking at the same Torah portion, but not this particular manuscript. So until then, shalom, everybody. Have a great day, and I wish everybody a Shabbat shalom.